Welcome to this deep dive. This one's really crafted for you, the learner, especially if you're looking to build knowledge effectively.
That's right.
Today, we're exploring a really quite heartwarming source called Teachers Shaping Minds and Words.
It's a great title. Really evocative.
Isn't it? And our mission really is to unpack the language we use when we talk about educators, their impact.
Yeah, looking at the nuances, the specific words that help us express that profound influence they can have.
Exactly. We'll be pulling apart vocabulary related to teaching, learning, and, well, those qualities that make a teacher truly stand out.
And it's interesting how everyday words, or maybe slightly less common ones like phrasal verbs, take on special meaning in this context. This source gives us a fantastic lens through a very human story.
Okay, so let's dive right in then. The core of the source is this wonderful story about a teacher, Mrs. Thompson, and her student, Daniel. So picture this. It's a small-town English class. You've got students from all sorts of backgrounds.
A real mix, yeah.
And then there's Daniel. He was really struggling. Reading wasn't clicking for him.
Which can happen, right? And it affects everything.
Totally. It hit his confidence hard. He'd often just try to, hide in the back, avoid speaking if he could.
That feeling is so relatable, isn't it? Feeling lost in a classroom, especially when you're young, it's isolating.
It really is. But Mrs. Thompson, she seems to have had this knack for seeing her students. She picked up on Daniel's quietness.
She noticed that's the first crucial step.
Right. She picked up on his lack of confidence. And instead of just letting him disappear, she decided to help him personally.
Which takes time and effort, especially in a full classroom.
Her approach was just, brilliant. She broke down those tricky grammar rules, made them simpler.
Into manageable pieces, not this overwhelming wall of rules.
Exactly. And when she called on him, it was always gentle, encouraging, never, putting him on the spot or embarrassing him.
That's so key, creating that safe space to try, even if you might make a mistake. That's real teaching, that individualized approach.
And it worked. Slowly, gradually, things started to make sense for Daniel.
He started to get it.
Yeah. And not just for himself, he actually began helping his classmates out.
Oh, wow. That's a huge step. From struggling himself to helping others.
It is. And the feedback Mrs. Thompson gave was always constructive, focused on growth, not on making him feel bad about errors.
Helpful criticism, not just criticism.
Precisely. And it all built up to this incredible moment at the year's end. Daniel, the kid he stood up, he gave a short speech.
Wow.
His first time ever speaking in public.
You can just imagine the feeling. For him and for her.
Yeah.
That must have taken so much courage.
Absolutely. The source says the whole class cheered, and Mrs. Thompson actually had tears in her eyes.
I bet. That's the payoff, isn't it? Seeing that growth, that breakthrough.
But the story doesn't stop there. Years later, Daniel, he became a teacher himself.
No way. That's fantastic.
And he often shares this quote, "A great teacher saw something in me." About Mrs. Thompson, of course.
That gives me chills. It really captures that power of belief.
And now as a teacher, he's consciously passing it on, creating that same supportive space for his students. It's like this ripple effect.
It really is. It shows how one good teacher's influence can echo through generations, way beyond just that one classroom. It shapes people.
So true. Okay, so building on that really inspiring narrative, let's zoom in on some specific language tools the source highlights, starting with phrasal verbs.
Yes, phrasal verbs. Sometimes a headache for learners, but so vital for sounding natural in English.
Definitely. Our source picks out 10 useful ones for talking about education. First up, breakdown, meaning to simplify.
Like we just talked about with Mrs. Thompson.
Exactly. The example is, she broke down the grammar rules. Like, taking apart a complex machine into understandable bits.
Makes it much less daunting.
Next, pick up on. This means to notice something, often subtle, like she picked up on his lack of confidence.
Being observant, noticing the things that aren't always obvious.
Then call on to ask someone to speak in class. The teacher called on him to answer.
But again, the way she called on him mattered.
Gently.
Right. Then there's keep up with, meaning to stay at the same level. The example, he couldn't keep up with the class at first, shows his initial struggle.
A very common situation in learning.
And go over to review something. Let's go over the assignment again, like hitting replay to understand better.
Useful for reinforcement. Then point out to highlight something.
The teacher pointed out my mistake kindly. Again, that kindness is key.
Absolutely. It's about correction, not criticism in a negative sense.
Then set up means to arrange or prepare. She set up a quiet reading space, creating the right conditions for learning.
Environment matters.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hand in, meaning to submit. Please hand in your homework on time. Every student knows that one.
Oh, yes. And then the opposite of keep up with is fall behind, not keeping pace.
He fell behind in reading last semester. A good teacher tries to help students who fall behind to catch up.
And finally, take in. To fully understand or absorb, it was a lot to take in at once.
That feeling when new information just rushes at you? Exactly. And using these phrasal verbs, well, it just adds a layer of detail and naturalness when you talk about educational experiences. Much more vivid than just single words sometimes.
Okay, moving from phrasal verbs to collocations. Now, these are words that just, sound right together in English, like best friends.
Using them makes your English flow much better, more native-like.
For sure. Our source gives 10 useful ones for education. First, classroom environment. That's the whole feeling or atmosphere in the class.
Is it welcoming? Focused, stressful? A positive classroom environment is crucial, makes students feel safe to learn.
Then constructive feedback. We've mentioned this helpful criticism aimed at improvement.
Not just pointing out flaws, but suggesting ways forward.
We also have learning goals. What students are aiming to learn, like setting targets.
Helps focus both the student and the teacher. What are we actually trying to achieve here?
Next, supportive teacher, like Mrs. Thompson kind, helpful, and related is teaching style, how someone teaches, their specific methods.
Everyone's got their own style, right? And different styles connect with different students.
True. Then homework assignment, can't escape that one, and positive reinforcement.
Ah, yes. Rewarding good effort or behavior. Praise, encouragement.
Like a little thumbs up for doing well can be really motivating.
Definitely. It encourages students to keep going.
We also have curriculum plan. That's the schedule, the map of what's being taught over the year.
Keeps things organized.
Student progress, how students are improving over time. And lastly, teacher training. The education teachers themselves receive.
Which is vital for giving them the tools they need to be effective, supportive teachers. Using these collocations, as you said, just makes discussing education sound much more precise and natural.
Right. Now let's tackle something really practical. Common mistakes. Things learners often trip up on when talking about school and teachers.
Oh, this is super useful. Seeing the error and the correction side by side really helps.
Okay, first one. She teach English very well. Needs to be who. She teaches English very well. That little S for she, he, it in the present.
That third person as a classic sticking point. Easy to forget, but important.
Another. I respect my teacher because he kind. It's missing something. Needs to be, I respect my teacher because he is kind.
Need that verb to be as am, are to link the subject in the description.
Okay, this one involves word order. The teacher gave to me a homework. Sounds a bit clunky. Better. The teacher gave me homework.
Yeah, with give, the person receiving usually comes right after the verb, give me homework, give him the book.
And a phrasal verb slip up. He didn't hand the homework. Missing a crucial bit. Should be, oh, he didn't hand in the homework.
Right, that in is part of the verb, hand in. Can't leave it out. The meaning changes completely otherwise.
Preposition problems. She's good in explain grammar. Should be, she is good at explaining grammar. After good at, we often use the inform form.
Yeah, good at, bad at, interested in. Learning those preposition pairs is key.
Tense trouble. He fell behind last month. Happened in the past, so, he fell behind last month. Need the past tense.
Simple past for completed actions in the past. Fall becomes fell.
How about exams? We don't usually say we do an exam every week. We say we take an exam every week.
That's just a common collocation. We take exams, take tests.
Another events issue and a noun form. I like when teacher give feedbacks. needs to be, I like when the teacher gives feedback, singular feedback.
Right. Third person is, again, on gives, and feedback is usually uncountable in this context. Plus, adding the makes it specific.
And our last one, subject-verb agreement. And to be. The student very noisy today needs, the students were very noisy today, if plural and past. Or the student was, if singular.
Yeah, making sure the verb matches the subject, singular, plural. And using the right form of to be, was sore, is fundamental. Avoiding these kinds of mistakes really cleans up your English.
Definitely makes you sound clearer and more confident. Okay, so how can we use some of this to actually, talk about teachers we appreciate?
Good question. The source gives some nice phrases.
Yeah. Like to praise a teacher's method, you could say, she had a teaching style that really worked for me.
That's great because it's specific to you and highlights how they helped.
Or to talk about their impact. Thanks to him, I started reading more. Shows a direct result.
Connects their action to a change in you. Powerful.
And for a significant learning moment. The first time I spoke in front of the class was scary, but exciting.
Captures that feeling of overcoming a hurdle, often thanks to a teacher's encouragement. Thinking about those moments and having the words for them is really valuable.
It is. Now, sometimes just thinking about speaking, maybe about these personal school memories, can bring up a little anxiety.
Sure, that's natural.
The source offers a simple stress control tip. Just bring to mind one positive memory from school. Anything good.
It's a grounding technique. Focusing on something positive can shift your mental state, ease those nerves a bit. Simple but effective.
All right, let's move towards wrapping up with a little practice for you, the listener. Our source suggests 3 mini challenges.
Active recall, putting it into practice. Good stuff.
First, try using fall behind, breakdown, and constructive feedback together in a short paragraph. See how they connect.
Helps solidify their meaning and context.
Second task, make one sentence using both positive reinforcement and learning goals.
See how those concepts can work together.
And the final challenge, describe a good teacher you remember using at least 3 of those collocations we discussed, like support a teacher or classroom environment.
A great way to personalize the learning and practice those natural word pairs. We really hope you take a moment to try these out.
Absolutely, because, the source puts it so well. Teachers light a fire in our minds.
It's a powerful image.
And the language we've looked at today, the phrasal verbs, the collocations, they give you the tools to really articulate that spark, to talk about those amazing people who help ignite it.
And maybe take a moment, too, to think about the lasting impact. Which teachers really stand out in your own life? How do their words or actions still shape you today?
Yeah, think about those teachers who, like Mrs. Thompson for Daniel, saw something in you. And perhaps consider, how might you pass that kind of belief or encouragement on in your own way?
A lovely thought to end on. That ripple effect again.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive today. We hope you found it useful and maybe even a little inspiring.
Indeed. We look forward to exploring more with you next time.